everybody, I'm Tom Basil.
I'm Camilla Cleghorn.
I'm Wendy Yee.
So a couple weeks ago, a game just showed up. Normally games are announced ahead of time by the bigger companies, and this is from CMON, Monolyth. And we didn't know much about this. They announced it when it came in the mail.
Like magic.
Yeah, it's a Phil Walker Harding 3D polyhedral game, and that's a lot of what he makes these days, from CMON, and who apparently thought it'd be cool if they spelled Monolyth with a Y, which I really hate. I don't understand the whole point of that. They could have called it just Monolyth, and that would have been okay.
Right.
I'm terrible at spelling, so I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a thematic thing or anything like that, so it's not like some sort of tie-in. It's
There's
just
tons of theme in this game.
so much theme. Oozing dryness.
All right, well, let's take a look at this, and we'll be right back. In this game, you have a bunch of different blocks of various shapes and sizes. You're going to be placing them in this box randomly, that you're going to be pulling them out and putting them around here. There's also a bunch of single blocks let to the side. One person gets a starting player token. Each player is going to get a board. Now, each board is slightly different. There are 5 colors of blocks in the game, and your board has 4 of them on the sides of it. You're going to place a random card here in the middle. This one happens to be shrines, but there's all different ones. You're using one of these cards per game. A crystal is placed here in the starting spot, and players are going to take turns. You are building a structure on top here, and if you are playing 3 or 4 players, this structure is a maximum of 3 height. In a 1 or 2 player game, it is a maximum of 4 high. On your turn, you have 2 different options. You can either move your crystal and place a stone, or make a prophecy. When you move it, you simply can move it up to 4 spaces in a clockwise direction. You will take that block, you'll randomly replace the spot that the crystal was in. You then take that block and you're going to place it somewhere here, following the normal rules, like you can't do this, you can't hang off, and you can't have overhangs of nothing. I might place this one here. This is my orange side, and when looking at my monolith from this direction, I want to see orange, probably. And so that's one of the things you can do. If you go to a spot, you can always discard the block out of the game if you want to instead take a single block of that exact color. And you probably aren't doing that at the beginning of the game, but there are certain times you're going to want to do that. As I said, the other thing that you can do is you can make a prophecy. There are a whole lot of prophecy tokens out here. That's these right here. These are based on the number of players. But I might say I'm going to take a 7 prophecy and I'm going to put it here. What that means is at the end of the game, I'm going to look at my monolith from this side. If I see at least 7 blocks, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, I get to keep this as points. Otherwise, I do not get those points. So taking a 4 is very easy. It's guaranteed points, probably. Taking a 12 means I can make no mistake. But once these are taken, nobody else can take them. When a player places a block so that it completely finishes one of the levels, so here you see I finished level 1, you get to take the highest number of this ring. So if I'm the first person, I'm going to get 10 points. The last will get 4 points. Each time you finish a level, you're going to take one of those point tokens. You're also looking at this marker here and trying to finish this shrine. So what this means is you have in these 2 corners, the blocks are 2 or higher, and these corners, it is either 0 or 1 block. So you can see here that this meets that criteria. There is 0 to 1 block in these, there's 1 block in those, and here we have 2 or more, or here we have 2 and more. As soon as I finish that, I'll take the highest one of these. It is very possible, each player can only finish it once, but it's very possible that you'll play the game without finishing these. This is going to continue until one person finishes their 3rd level or 4th level in a 1 or 2 player game. At that point, you simply see which of your prophecies you fulfilled and add them to all the point tokens that you've taken over the course of the game, and whoever has the most points is the winner. Before we run off here, I want to point out that these blocks, you can look at them, you can see they have different symbols on them. That does not matter. They are made of plastic, hollow plastic, I think. So other than that, and this board here is a little bit of a pain to set up at the beginning. There are certain spots on it that say 4 players plus, like that spot there, and on the other side, this is for a 1 to 2 player game. With 1 player, you're just trying to score a high point so you can tell people, you know, what kind of builder you are. Okay, if you were watching that overview, you might think that reminds you of a game, and as you can see in the title of this, yes, it's very similar to Patchwork.
Very similar.
You're moving around, you're hoping against hope that the person going before you moves just a little bit so you can get to the one piece, but not pass.
Not jump over it.
Right, and not take the piece you want. I mean, there's that's going on in this game, and you build it. But other than that, it's not real. I mean, I guess it is like Patchwork. I mean, you are building a 3D object. You're trying to fill in.
Polyhedron-ish shapes.
Right, and trying to fit them in together.
But I wouldn't say if you liked one, you'll like the other.
I don't know.
I mean, it has a different cost. Like, you don't have the time cost. So if that's what you really like about Patchwork,
That's
is
true.
that
Patchwork
play
has
and
an
that jumping
economy.
in front of each other. It doesn't have that. It actually has scoring that reminds me more of Barren Park and some of other Phil Walker Harding games, where you have kind of that first come, first serve for scoring, and you're filling in layers or you're filling in rows.
Got it.
Yeah.
I haven't played Barren Park, so I don't have that reference, but I would say that is significantly different than Patchwork, yeah.
I think that scoring is one thing I really like about scoring in this game is how easy it is. When you're done, you just say, I have these 6 tiles, add them together, I'm done. The whole prophecy thing is more of a, you can take them early, and you kind of control them to some degree. I mean, you can really make it so you fill in a wall to some. I mean, unless someone's in front of you is like, I will never let you get an orange piece, but that's almost impossible.
But even that, you can always switch it out for the ones, and then you just.
Well, you still would have to get an orange piece to get an orange one.
That's true. Yeah, you have to at least get it.
So I think that's really neat. It's hard to get all 4 walls, but I think they did a good job of balancing being the first one to finish.
Yeah.
To do that weird structure, whatever it might be, which if you don't do, you can lose points, but you can also ignore it, and then to do those things. But that's it. I mean, I don't know. I can't really talk about this game for a long time because it's really not that complex.
But I want to say, I think they did a really good job balancing. You talked about balancing, trying to go to be the first, but then also it has those different race, elements. Are you going to kind of race and be pushing the end game, trying to get the layers done and get the points there, or go for the prophecies, or go, so there's a couple different avenues that you can get points, but they're all still so streamlined. And I think that was really, really unique about it, that it didn't just feel like a point salad. Well, this scores here. The scoring was still so clean with those multiple avenues that each had their own pressure to them, which I thought was really interesting because it didn't feel that it gave you that tension, but it wasn't that anxiety, if that makes sense. We all were kind of going for something different, and so you had that little bit of pressure, like, oh, make sure I stay ahead of this race, or oh, make sure I can get that highest prophecy possible and kind of push your luck. But it never felt that like, or completely wreck everything I'm going for. And I think that was a really good balance.
I like that as you're building that building, you can build up, you can build wide. I actually really enjoyed the little cards that come out in the middle. I'm not sure what those are called. But they're oddly thematic. Like, there's one called the pool, and so it's like you have to have low stuff in the middle and tall stuff on the side. There's like the wall where you have to have a couple sides together. And I found that like oddly thematic for a very themeless game. That they have names for those cards. But I also like that you have something that you're going for. And so am I going to race the races for points, for levels? Am I going to race the race for that card in the middle? Am I going to, predict stuff like in Neoville? I feel like this is a mashup of a lot of different games. And I think that I think I can pull mechanisms from a bunch of different games and say, these all come from here. I see the bones of it, but Phil Walker Harding took it down to such a clean system.
That is one thing I was going to say about this game, is I really don't think that it brings anything original to the table. I don't think there's anything I can say that.
Maybe the prophecies. I don't think I've seen that before, where you're saying how many you'll get on those.
Like in Neoville. In Neoville, you're putting out those little statues there, and you're saying,
right.
all right, this is going to be this big.
And so again, with these games, it's like, oh, nothing unique. But again, to your point, it is very cleanly done, simplistically, I think. To its credit, I think. But it really isn't like, oh, and this was so neat. Like, it doesn't have that like, oh, I'm so excited to teach you this game because it's unique. It's just like, oh, this is a really unique game in what it puts together, a very clean game. I think I'd call it more of a clean game than a unique game.
But I think this game might have some popularity. I really do. Considering how popular Patchwork is, and looking at the different games Phil Walker Harding has done, people tend to gravitate towards his streamlined ones. And this feels like, you mentioned other games. If you're watching this, you don't need to know any of that, right? You just a distillation of that. This is a very solid game. I'm giving this one a 7, and that's going to sound low compared to me saying it's good, but I like it a lot. It feels like a strong filler to me. A game I
Okay.
would play because it's so quick. It is not a long game. 30 minutes at most. I think it scales really. You know what? I'm gonna say 7.5 because it was a little higher than 7. Okay, 7.5. But I think it is easy to play. It's scale. I haven't played it at solo, but 2 to 4, really quick. Does it go to 5? I don't remember if it goes 5. I think it's just 2 to 4. But
that'd be interesting. That'd be a
anyway,
lot of change.
I played it. I like it. It's fast. I get the pleasure of building. There's something about building these plastic boxes. I build my little brick, a monolith of sorts. That's fun. And then you get the points at the end. It's quick. It's done. I like to win. I don't care so strongly if I lose. I just had a good time. So 7.5 was what I originally thought of in my head. Always.
Always, yes,
Always.
definitely. I think I'm going to come in a little bit higher than that. I'm going to come in at an 8 for this. I really enjoy, again, that simplistic nature. I love what you said about it being a, what do you call it, a little heavier than a full, what did you just say? You just said it.
Filler?
Distillation filler.
Heavier
Oh,
than a
filler.
filler.
Heavier than a filler. It's a heavier filler. And I really think that holds true in this one. I think my biggest complaint is the components. I hate these. I would want these wooden or something. I just hate the noise of them.
But what if we filled them with sand?
We talked about that. Would we drill a hole in them and fill them?
Interesting. And then glue that hole shut?
Yeah, you would
Well,
just
we were
patch
thinking
it.
if we could figure out how to, one of these sides, if we could
With the
snap it
top
off.
Yeah.
And then re-glue
They're
it?
just a little too clinky. You know?
I thought you liked that sort of thing.
No.
Oh, okay.
I like the right kind of that sort of
I
thing.
do know someone had talked about like putting a wash on these.
Yeah,
so that
I
you could,
said that
you could
too.
see the imagery pop out.
Yeah, I think that'd be really good. So I think that's my one complaint is just that. But I also think for the price point, what you're getting, these are not bad. It's just me personally. I just don't
like
like
'em.
the sound of that. They're a little too toy. I want some heftier, you know. But other than that, I really like the mechanisms. I like that, again, the scoring, the varied scoring, but the pressure on those scorings, and you can kind of pick your path and play around with it. But at the end of the day, the game we played, we all went for something different, and it was all close. So I feel like those different ways to score are simple and balanced, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to come in at 8.
Nice. I'm going to also come in at an 8. I adore Phil Walker Harding, and wow, I love polyominoes as well. The 3D puzzle to me was a lot of fun. I enjoyed saying, oh, I'm going to really lean on this side. I'm going to build up my white side, and I'm going to focus on that. Now I'm going to switch focuses to another color or start predicting stuff. I really enjoy being able to just kind of pivot any point I want during a game. And I especially love that in that patchwork style rondelle, moving around and being able to say, you know what? I don't like anything in front of me. I'm just going to take a prediction action instead of grabbing something because maybe there'll be something better next turn.
It's
I just
kinda like a
enjoy
pass,
those
almost.
moments. Yeah,
It
it's like a
is.
pass that's worth something.
But it's kind of like a pit stop because you have to plan when you take that. You know, depending on what's coming up, it's like you want to get that prediction, but you also want to make sure you get that tile. They pass that tile, I'll do it now. So it's I don't know. I think it's more like a NASCAR pit stop. You have to plan it so perfectly. When you do those.
There's a weird moment,
Yeah.
and sometimes everybody passes and grabs a prediction at that moment. You're like, no, I still have the same
Yeah, I
stupid
hate that.
tiles in front of me.
And you mentioned puzzle. I should say that I didn't think this was particularly difficult. I'm not sitting there going, oh, I don't know how to put a piece in there.
no, yeah.
That it's just satisfying. But I never thought it was like, oh, I don't know what piece to find. They were
And there
pretty
was
easy
never
to put
that
together.
nothing fits at all moment either.
Yes,
You know, it's more like,
because-
oh, that one's so close to being perfect. Fine, I'll do this instead. It wasn't a limiting puzzle.
Yeah, you can create holes that you have to fill before you can build on top of them, but it's 4 blocks tall, 3 or 4 blocks tall,
Yeah, I
depending
think
on how
ours
many
was
players
3,
you're playing. Yeah.
right.
And so you never build yourself
Yeah.
into a corner.
Well, there you go, folks. That is Monolith. Check it out. It's available very soon or now, I guess. Anyway, I'm Tom Vassell,
I'm Camilla Cleghorn.
I'm Wendy Yee.
and we're building with blocks.
Ha.